Hello and welcome to the Daft Souls podcast. My name is Matt Lees. I'm joined by Quentin Smith.
Hello, Matt Lees.
And Philippa Waugh. Pip.
Hello, hi.
Great to have you back, Pip.
Yay!
I'm going to point out now, before we go any further, I'm feeling tremendously under the weather. I've had a whiskey, and it's been a very long day, which either means I'm going to be a bit weird and funny, or I might just be horrible and rage-filled. If you're listening to this and going, Matt's a bit off this week, that's why. It's fine. Don't send me hate mail.
Is there a barometer? Like, is there something we can mention to determine how angry and or sort of mad Matt is?
Well, I don't know, but when you were saying barometer, I thought you were going to say Barocca, and then I thought maybe medicinally we could put a Barocca in his whiskey.
Don't even start with me about barometers and Barocca.
Isn't that like a mental?
I'll kill you. I'll kill you all.
Like if you, we've solved.
Shall we just put Matt in the cupboard and just do this?
Can we? Can we
He's
do
really
that?
angry.
Oh man, imagine having the future in the
Imagine having the future. Imagine having a future.
Okay, that's
just
you
wait.
do not.
Just wait. Literally.
Just sort of set the level of where my brain is at now. Let's just move on.
It's okay, guys. I wrote down on a piece of paper 5 things that are awesome.
Oh, did you? What are they?
Should we start with the most awesome one?
Go on,
and then
go on.
sort of, or do we want to go least awesome to most awesome?
No. That's not how the news pyramid works.
Oh, okay. I'm a journalist. I know how this works. Today's top story: Firewatch. It seems good.
I have it downloaded and I haven't played it yet because I was busy playing other things.
Yeah, we should caveat really immediately.
Really immediately.
Really immediately.
Really immediately.
Do you want to go back in the cupboard under the stairs?
No, I'm fine.
When's the future, Matt?
The future is now. The future is a tint of orange.
What's the caveat?
The caveat is that obviously both me and Quinn, to varying degrees, are friends with the people making this game.
Well, I'm friends with them.
Yeah, well, I am as well. I'm friends with Nels.
Well,
And,
Oh, is it Nels as well? Oh, yeah, no, I should have made that connection.
It's Nels and
Yeah,
Ollie Moss.
fine.
So the art's done by Ollie's Moss. And,
Ollie's Moss.
Ollie's Moss. I'm so sorry, Ollie. And Nels, yeah, who obviously was in our Subterfuge Diaries with Pip.
he was.
So obviously that's different. Pip wasn't. Yeah, Pip can say what she likes, but she hasn't played it. Anyway, we can say what we like as well, but you should just know, for the record, that we do know these people like them.
Okay, Pip, as someone who has not played, I think, Matt's played the first half an hour of Firewatch, I played the first 5 minutes. So.
I watched a video.
Great! What would you like to know about the first 5 minutes of Firewatch? And we'll, stress this is a story-driven game, so we'll be avoiding spoilers in general, but we should say it seems completely excellent. Mm-hmm. Oh, hey, if you don't know what Firewatch is, gone home but outdoors is the vibe that I'm getting from it. It's a nice walkie simulator, but instead of being in a house full of teens who are having problems, you're
a fully grown man
in the outdoors
who's got a job, and it's nice because you just get a job, and you've just started a job as somebody who is on the lookout for fire.
Yeah,
Based in a kind of watchtower thing with radio communication. And looking out for young hoodlums who might be carrying open flames.
Yeah. So what would you like to know about the first 5 minutes? This is a golden opportunity, Pip. It's not, well, I mean, you have it downloaded.
We're not going to tell you much about it either, so, but,
Nonetheless, it's a golden opportunity.
What could possibly go wrong? Okay, so something that I'd like to know is what's the tone, like how does it start tonally, I guess?
The tone is a bit unexpected. And I think that's just, I want to not go any further than that. We actually just rolled back on something which Quinn said, and thought it was fine, but I was like, it's a bit of a spoiler. So I think the tone is unexpected. And I think I wouldn't say any more than that, but because it's something they kind of kept a bit secret. And I was very surprised by it. We'll talk about... I'd like to talk about this again in the future, though. I just think maybe when it's not out yet, we should probably keep it a bit vague, because I was really surprised by that, and it had an impact on me.
The other way around, then. Shall I tell you what I think it is, having sort of been
that's a good idea.
A bit sort of not looking at it too closely, because I tend not to do that with games that I'm really excited about or really want to play.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, essentially, it looks...
So, hang on. Are we having a discussion as to what Firewatch is not?
Well, she's going to tell us, and this is actually a really cool idea.
Yeah.
She's going to tell us what she thinks it is, and we're going to tell her whether or not she's right, which is a really good gauge of whether or not marketing
Isn't that that's like the obverse of a spoiler, though? Because if we tell her she's wrong, then that's equally a spoiler.
Tell you what, shall I tell you what I think? Because I feel like if you guys say much, you're struggling to avoid spoilers and things. This is hilarious. But if I tell you what I think as somebody who hasn't played it, hasn't read anything since other people have played it, then you'll know the level that I'm at with it.
Got it.
So that's a kind of baseline or gauge. So first thing, it looks absolutely beautiful. Like it's on moss, obviously, kind of. Like the color palette is these sort of wonderful, sort of warm, glowing, sort of orangey reds, and then these like lovely kind of cyans.
Or sometimes kind of crisp blues. One thing I can tell you about it, which isn't really a spoiler, is that as you go through it, it is a narrative-driven game. And so even though you have like this kind of wide open space and you have a map and there's a degree of like having this nice physical map in front of you and a compass and the fact you can see where you are on the map, but there are no breadcrumbs, there's no like go over here. So sometimes it's like when I need to go north, it means you actually need to look at the little compass in your hand and go which way's north is that way. Yeah. But you do also have these things where the game is split up into days. So you go and do something and then it'll be like you go back and it'll be day 1, day 2. And it means that you do get these nice kind of scripted shifts in light and weather, of it being like you wake up in the morning and it's bright and clear, and then as it gets to the afternoon and obviously it's a video game so it's accelerated, but it does mean you go through these lovely palette shifts while you explore these little areas.
Yeah, that's not something that games have done a great deal of work on, is it? There's a topic for today.
Yeah.
Like, generally, sort of use of light tends to chase realism, right? Because that's tech that people find exciting, although now we've got to the point where people are having to be more artistically inventive, especially within the indie scene. We're seeing grading, we're seeing sort of use of colour.
And there's a lot of control here in a good way. It's like that thing of, it isn't... It's weird when you get a map and a compass, you might expect something a bit like The Long Dark, where you can just wander off and go anywhere and do what you want.
See, that's what I was going to ask you about, was that because The Long Dark kind of felt like a reference point for me, because I was looking at this thing, I was looking at all of these landscapes, looking at these watchtowers, so maybe you'd have vistas every now and again, and I wondered whether it was the sort of game where I would just end up taking screenshots. I would basically be on a photo tourist
interestingly,
kind of thing.
I don't know why exactly he said this, but one of the things that I saw Ollie on Twitter say about the game, he says, if you're playing it, one of the things he suggested was take loads of photos, and one of the things you get within the first hour of the game is a little disposable camera. And it's this lovely thing, if it brings up the little viewfinder, and it's a square viewfinder, so it's a bit like kind of square and fuzzy, a bit Instagrammy, but I don't know, like the weird thing is as well, you get a limited number of photos in it, from what I can tell.
Oh, nice, because there's a limited amount of film in the camera?
Because I think the idea is that the camera is somebody else's and it probably already has photos in it. So you've only got like about 18, 19 shots. But it means that like you consider it. And it means obviously you can still screen grab stuff and take, F12 is still your friend. But
F12 while having the viewfinder up.
Oh, God. No, see,
I'm already cheating.
If a game gives me a camera, this is like when we were talking about The Witness a while back. Oh, I was talking about The Witness with my friend, and he was using his phone to take screenshots of The Witness rather than using a piece of paper and a pencil like I was using, which felt like cheating to me. And similarly,
we did talk about it on the podcast.
Oh, good. As well.
Yeah, so if
although I was screenshotting the shit out of the rest of it because it's so beautiful.
Witness. Yeah. It is another example, isn't it? Well, yeah, of a game using really strong colours as well. Yeah. But
I think Firewatch is a bit prettier, but
I think
they're both gorgeous in different ways.
I mean, yes, I enjoy. Yes.
Yes. I mean, no, you don't have to agree with that. That's purely subjective. That is literally like that is as subjective as it gets. Which is prettier, blue or red.
I find The Witness's use of colour really interesting, actually, because it tends to surprise me. Because so much of it is so utilitarian in terms of like you're looking at a panel, this is the red area or whatever, but then you'll be crossing between areas and you will find yourself stopping and going, hang on, this is beautiful, and it feels like an unintentional beauty, or at least a beauty that you've noticed, almost like I suppose almost like the way they designed the puzzles in The Witness, where you play a puzzle in The Witness and you notice that, this is how to solve it. But then similarly, you're walking between puzzles and you notice, hey, this view is completely beautiful. It's almost like it's rewarding perception in the same way. Whereas, I think
with The Witness, the unexpected beauty of the colour was because it's so hyper-saturated and really in your face. And yet it sort of has those moments of, oh wow, that's so beautiful, or like there's a complete sort of mood shift from one sort of maybe in-game 5 metre by 5 metre kind of bit, and then another zone that you just sort of walk into, and it feels completely different.
So it plays with subtlety every now and then.
Yeah, whereas I thought that from what I've seen and from like the marketing materials, Firewatch seems sort of more in terms of subtlety and more in terms of, using colour in a different way.
I think it's just very pretty a lot of the time, and a lot of the time because they've had a bit of control, it's not like linear by any means, but often it'll be this thing of you have a bit of kind of wiggle room to explore and go different ways. And you know what? I don't know. Maybe you can completely ignore the route you're supposed to go down and just go a really different one. I don't know. But it always feels like you're given enough like room to explore and find your own route, but you still have a direction. You've still got a job to do. It's not like it's not like Skyrim where it's like, you are king of the fucking mountains. Go and find a bear to kill you.
The fucking mountains, of course, most beautiful of all the mountains.
It's the best place in Skyrim. If you've not unlocked it yet, you've got to go there. Absolutely. I mean, it's not for kids, but it's great. But no, it's
dicks everywhere.
It's unbelievable. Like, I mean, I've got no problem with that, but it's just not for kids. Anyway,
the mounting mountains.
There you go.
That's an actual somebody who still works in writing.
Yes.
But yeah, you do have a job to do. Like the idea is you've got to go here to do this, and you've got to go here to do this, and somebody's on the radio saying, we've got this situation. Can you go there? So in a way, the fact that you are walking down paths, because that's the way that actually it works in like parks in America. They do have paths, and it's a good idea to use them.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like linear at all, but it's nice because they're able to control the light at certain situations. So I've already had quite a few bits where I'm like, wow, this is awesome, and I'm like taking the camera and taking a photo in the game. But I wonder if there's going to be more to it, just because having one of the people making the game saying use the camera. I'm like, it might actually be interesting, because one of the things is it's not. You'd think that it would be one of these like games where you wander around, have the spectacle, and have the changing times, but it's not really like that. And actually, the things it does that surprise you are often things that you wouldn't expect in this kind of genre of game. It's things it remembers things. Like sometimes you'll have conversations, you'll make choices, and it does that thing of, the game remembers that you said that, but it doesn't
do anything as overt as so and so will remember this.
No, it doesn't. But there's an early bit, and this is a very mild spoiler, but there's an early bit where you kind of like slip and fall somewhere after your boss has told you to do something, and then afterwards you give the name of like, she's like, I just fell down, and you get to choose like the name of what you're going to call it, like, and it's basically then you look on the map and it's written on the map, like it's like, so one of them is like, I think on my map now it says like, my dumbass boss almost killed me as like the name of that cliff, and it's like permanently embedded, and it just seems to like have that kind of element of like feeling like the choices you're making matter, but it also does some really clever things. We talked about in the past, I'm sure on the podcast, about how you can have these games where putting you into the same position as a character is always a really smart thing. Like, so when you have The Walking Dead was a classic thing. It's not your daughter, it's a girl you've just met. You think of her as a daughter.
Oh, right. Or the classic amnesiac thing in a JRPG where your character's always an amnesiac because the player knows nothing about the world as well.
Yeah, and that's always like a bit of a shit way of doing it, but it works. Whereas in this, it does this nice thing of, it's a new job. You don't know the job. And it has this lovely thing of the fact that your radio, basically, is a thing that you can pull out of your pocket at any point, and you just point the kind of crosshair at what you're looking at, and if it's a thing you can call in, it means you call it in, and you're like, oh, this tree's fallen over, or this somebody looks like they've done this, or whatever, or like somebody's left some trash, and it starts a conversation. But it often means sometimes like the guy is kind of clueless, and you're kind of calling stuff in and going, oh, I've just seen this, and the person who you're talking to is like, yeah, like you're in the woods. Like,
I've seen a squirrel.
But it allows you to kind of behave, especially in the early stages, like this idiot player of going, having the character literally going, what is this? How does this work? What does this do? And the other person like treating them like they're an idiot. But it's a nice a nice kind of cross.
That's actually quite sweet.
Can
you phone in squirrels? Or like, I guess it's
know.
American, so squirrels.
Squirrels, where it's one sort of syllable.
And murs.
Yeah, squirrel and the mur.
But the other thing is that it has this nice thing of like, when you want to know about stuff, you have these conversations. The scripting is so good, so funny. But it does let you go off piste, and there are bits where you just sort of go, well, I know I'm supposed to be going over there, but I'm going to just wander over, and like you just sort of go, well, what's this? What's going on? And there's a lot of layers with the story going on already, and I've barely touched it. But it's really interesting.
It reminds me of just sparking off over the last week, I've been playing much more of The Witness since we first talked about it, and the thing I think that I'm enjoying so much about it, or one of the things, is the amount of sort of puzzles that you encounter that you then have to walk away from. The amount of sort of the open world nature of the game, and the way it forks so much purely based on you saying, I am not doing this right now.
Yeah.
And it's...
Or I've reached my limit with this run of things.
Yeah, you will solve a puzzle to A to B to C to D, and you reach E, and you just go, no, I don't know if I'm too stupid, I don't know if I've not got the facilities to do it, but it's, I'm getting so much joy out of that game, putting things in front of me that I cannot solve yet, and letting me decide when I'm done with them.
Oh, I'll tell you something though. I was really, really enjoying it, and then I was playing it with a friend of mine on Skype. We were just basically, it was a Skype call of us going, ooh, or oh, oh, that's neat.
So you were solving it at different times. Yeah, different points in the game.
It was just one of those things where we'd been playing something else beforehand, and then it just like kept the call alive with everybody playing different things.
Sure, yeah.
And so we were doing that, and then he'd said something like, "What if there's ghosts?" Or like, what if there's something evil? Like, it messed with me so badly.
Really?
Like, I am so bad with horror games, and I got it into my head, maybe The Witness is a horror game, and like, every puzzle makes you face forwards. Because obviously you're looking at a map screen.
Oh, so
or
the
like
idea you turn away from the puzzle, and then there's a man.
And so I'm just I can look at it for a certain amount of time, but then I have to turn around. I have to convince myself that there's not someone stood behind me.
This got triggered by a tweet someone made of being annoyed that the character you're playing can't wade through like knee-deep water, despite like having insufferable puzzles between them. It's like they're not going to get wet. They're not just going to swim over to the solution. But I keep playing The Witness and thinking about being on that island, which is something I never do playing video games.
I really want to go and play more of it. I dipped into Firewatch just because I was really intrigued, and I just sort of took up a bit of my evening yesterday, and I want to go back to The Witness as well, because I think it's interesting, and I hope that they can both kind of find room to breathe, because they look the same, but they're actually very, very, like, it couldn't be more different. Right?
Yeah, except for the fact that they're both sort of
pretty,
pretty, thoughtfully paced, first person.
But the difference is,
and
it's interesting, the thing in The Witness is you're kind of allowed to explore, and you're allowed to discover things that you can't do yet, whereas I describe from my early experiences, and I might be wrong, but I describe from like maybe 40 minutes of playing Firewatch as it being like a kind of smart linear game, of being a linear game, but lets you have enough space that you don't feel it is, but you're also kind of aware that it is like allowing you to discover things at a certain sort of rhythm.
It's more of a curated experience, maybe.
Yeah, but it does some nice things that you realise, like, there's a lovely bit where I'm just walking through loads of bushes, and I can hardly see anything. And it's like, you kind of realise that a game with enemies, you can't do that, because obscuring vision like this, and just having it so all I can see is just bushes around me, like, it's just this nice thing of, like, knowing that you can just wander through and just enjoy the moment, rather than worrying about the... like getting attacked, and actually the things
in the long dark with the wolves.
Yeah.
Oh man, the wolves, they tone down with every patch.
The jerk wolves.
But the things you're given to contend with, the things you're given to worry about, they do worry you. And I think it's going to be one of those games like Gone Home, actually, that is going to resonate with adults in lots of interesting ways. Maybe not so much with younger people. Maybe younger people will go, there's not enough to this. When actually, as an adult, you're like, some of the basic problems you have to deal with as basically a park ranger in the first half an hour are things that just as an adult you go, oh, like they just bubble up loads of different combinations of things, and you just think, oh, I don't want to deal with this, like, just because they make you feel inherently awkward as an adult.
Yeah.
Whereas maybe, if you haven't got comparative experiences, or you haven't been on one side of that or another, especially when you're dealing with teenagers in the park. It's like if you've ever had to deal with obnoxious teenagers, then it brings back kind of like, I'm not going to enjoy this. But if you've ever been an obnoxious teenager and grown up for long enough to realise that you were obnoxious, then again you just sort of go,
oh, maybe I don't want to play this game.
No. It's still lovely and light and interesting, and well, yeah.
I feel really like it's a really good fortnight for games.
It's been completely insane.
Bananas.
Like, it's one of those couple of weeks where all I want to do is clear my slate of actual things I have to do, because I've got The Witness, I've got Firewatch, and I've got American Truck Simulator, and I want to bounce between the three of them.
So I've noticed there's been a lot of truck simulator coverage, to which on Rob Rubber Shotgun, to which I have to ask, what the truck?
Oh my god.
If you hadn't said anything, it would have been awesome, and the people listening to the podcast would have chuckled.
We could have left space for either the tumbleweeds or the applause.
Yeah, and you just could have picked it up.
Yeah, no, I think we're all just unashamedly in love with it, It's one of those things.
So what is American Truck Simulator?
So American Truck Simulator is where you drive
Quinn's is putting his head in his hands.
a truck
I love
place
this.
to place in America.
Okay.
And you sort of have jobs, you earn money, you
can
drive
run your own
loads
business,
from
right?
place to place. Yeah. You like
What?
Yeah,
You run your own trucking company?
Well,
So
that's how-
basically, at the
sorry.
beginning, you don't have the money for it. So you you take on the jobs. You're basically a qualified truck driver, but you take on the jobs, and the jobs come with the truck, and you just drive it to the place and deposit the trailer and all of that kind of stuff. But then, as you earn more money, you can buy your own trucks, and then you run your own depot and all of that stuff. I haven't had the time, and I really desperately want
Can
to.
I do a Let's Play series on cool ghosts of American Truck Simulator?
Only if I'm sitting in the cabin.
Yes.
Literally.
Well, then it's just...
Well, can I come?
Hang on. No, I want it to be lonely. If with what you're describing, Matt, it's just the Patreon hangouts
I
we do
just-
every month.
Maybe we should just start doing them in the truck.
It's just like
that's a
I
good
just love the idea. Well, I've played it for maybe a couple of hours at the a couple of weekends ago when I actually had some time, and it was, you can integrate all of these radio stations. So I was listening to really trashy 80s ballads while driving down all of these American roads. They've kind of truncated them, but there's still
okay.
the spirit
Otherwise they
of
take
it.
forever.
Yeah.
So
I
how
know,
long does
right?
it take to do an average journey?
And so, well, at the moment, I'm still at those ones where it takes maybe like 10, 15 minutes, and then that long to park the thing because you're desperately trying to work out the physics of maneuvering this thing, like the trailer bit that's attached to you, without it just going off in a right angle into a building.
Man, in my day, when I used to
Oh,
work,
in your day.
when I used to work for RPS, I did an article on a German bus simulator, but it didn't have a sim attached to it. It was just you drove a bus.
Yeah, but they weren't as
Maybe if
popular.
they'd made you drive a
I
bendy
know,
bus.
I'm learning, and it wasn't. I think you could drive a few
Truck
different kinds
sims.
of
I've
buses.
really been meaning to go back to. I've got Euro Truck Simulator 2 on
Yeah.
my computer, which is better because it's Europe.
Why does everyone know about these except me?
Because you haven't been paying enough attention, Smith.
Playing The Witness.
He was on the podcast a while ago. Did a thing about other places.
Kelly,
but
yeah.
Andy Kelly is a big
Yeah,
fan
yeah.
of Euro Truck Simulator, and he's written about it both using VR and without. And his writing about it is, it's enticing, especially this idea of like, you own your own company. It's one of your first few jobs with your own company, and then you get lost on the way to like a depot in Germany, and it's raining and it's muddy, and you're driving down this road, you don't even know where you are anymore, but you're hoping it's a shortcut. And then it is the elation of being like, not only you're not lost anymore, but your company isn't screwed because you haven't messed up a job. Like, but the interesting thing is, it really does like become this weird thing of blurring the lines between doing these tedious jobs. And I think at the moment, especially with American Truck Simulator, to me, we're already into that holodeck zone in a weird way. Of like, I read an article a few years ago about how the American trucking industry is like the last blue collar job in America, which still pays a lot of money. And so this weird thing of like, now with Google and stuff automating vehicles, they suspect within 5-10 years, like there's no reason why the trucking companies wouldn't just have robots driving these long haul things. But the impact that will have on the American like economy is huge, because these truckers spend money at stop buys, spend money at strip bars, clubs, all along their route, because it's long routes.
I like that strip bars was number 2 on that list.
They do like that sort of thing. It's an industry. It's a culture.
Sure.
No, that's wrong. That's wrong. They have bars. They have all sorts of things. Stop buys. Diners. Let's say I'm really ill. I'm quite drunk.
No, I didn't mean to pin you to the wall. I just thought that was funny.
You should have done. You should have done. Really, it was wrong. But anyway, it's the fact that like then you take this like 5-figure Jesus salary. I'm losing you. I'm gonna stay with it.
3-figure salary.
You take this big salary out of the equation for truck drivers, and suddenly like the whole of like a lot of middle America stuff falls apart, because they're not the people who are keeping these industries alive are disappearing. So
I get it.
The fact that now we've got this, it's something that people are worried is going to happen in the very short-term future, combined with now like, hey, you can pretend you're an American truck driver. It's like, we're living in a weird future.
Man, you know what the best thing about the bus sim, the German bus sim I played for RPS was that you leave the bus depot and you sort of it drives like a car, right? And then you drive to your first bus stop and you pull up and there's a terrible 3D model of this mutant man who wants to get on, and then you go to you swap to the in-cab view to press the button that opens the door to let him on. You know how many buttons there are on a bus? So it's the thing that you pull up and he's watching you clearly in the cab. and then you just press every single button one after
Your
another.
windscreen wiper.
Yeah, windscreen wiper goes off,
the
washes,
lights
like the disabled ramp comes down, you beat the horn, scaring the crap out of everyone.
I've only ever played one bus simulator, and it was at a sleepover at my house with Sean Bell of Midnight Resistance.
Oh, yeah?
Many, many years ago. He brought round his Dreamcast, which was chipped, and he had a bunch of Japanese games. I'm so sorry, Sean, if you're being swatted right now because of this. I'm so sorry. But he is a criminal.
Is it swatting if the real police arrest him for being a criminal?
Not really, no. It's
That's justice.
It's justice, yeah.
It's fine. No, it was many years ago. He's probably deleted all the discs now, and no one cares about Dreamcast. But anyway, it was a Japanese bus simulator, and I just remember being like, I couldn't believe it, that like it was so hard.
Oh, was it a train simulator, maybe?
No, it was a bus, because
Okay.
you went slightly too fast, or you didn't park it completely right.
So you just barrel past?
It was so specific that it was like, no, you didn't get that right, so you've lost.
Man,
it was just brutal.
There was
like,
a
what?
PS2 train game I always wanted, which PS3 must have been because I had Blu-ray. But it was a train simulator, but obviously the trains are on rails in Japan, but it was just Blu-ray footage from an actual train.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Did you see? That was my response. Pip, what's the best thing that's happened to you in American Truck Simulator 2015?
I think it's those moments where you feel really proud of yourself for something ridiculously tiny.
Yeah.
So there was this moment where I can't believe it stuck with me for like 2 weeks. There's this moment where I've come off the freeway. I'm going down a little side road to join another little road that's just that crosses underneath the freeway. And I just I use the shoulder buttons on my joypad. I'm waiting. I'm investing in a wheel. Don't worry.
Are you really gonna get a wheel?
Shut up. Yeah.
Man.
But so I use the shoulder buttons to look left and right to just check for traffic, and then I ease out and perfectly into the road, angle the thing so nothing hits anything, and just drive on my way.
So that was a rare occurrence? What usually happens? Do you knock 8 cars into a ditch?
It's just because it's actually quite difficult to gauge, because this thing is really long and it pivots,
Would you
just
say it's about
behind
the length of a
cab.
truck? Yeah.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, okay.
18 wheels.
But so obviously you have to overdo it on the corners, because you can't just turn right. You have to go forwards a whole bunch and then turn right.
Oh,
so
I get
that
it. Yeah.
Back of the
Swings
truck,
round, yeah.
the thing that's not the cab, the
Trying
trailer,
to reverse park that sounds like hell.
Yeah, that's the thing. And there have been other times where because it gives you the easy option, which is to just abandon the trailer and the other person has to sort it out.
Oh, really?
themselves.
That's a choice.
You get less money and less skill and stuff like that from that.
Wait, skill?
And then, so basically,
Is there a skill tree?
as in, you get experience. You're more experienced, your reputation goes up because you're actually good at your job.
Wait,
you're a
hang
safe
on.
driver.
Okay, but
you're not getting speeding fines.
Yeah, it's not actually you're not leveling up as a driver.
No.
It's more the problem is if you're a trucker and everyone goes, oh yeah, Quincy Smith. Every time he has to get somebody else to park it for him. I can't even park a truck.
I can park a truck.
I didn't know that. He doesn't even park his own truck.
You listen to me. I'm going to park the next jar. I want to play this now. This is
I'm much more interested in Euro because
it's somehow more mundane.
Smaller.
I haven't encountered bad weather in American Truck Simulator yet. And granted, I've only played an hour and a half, and it's California kind of area, Nevada-y kind of bit. But it's it's so I've been screen grabbing. I've been having a lovely time. I want an Oculus Rift or a Vive or something.
A Vive, so you can walk around the cab.
No,
in your
it's
living
not that. Do you know what it is? It's probably because
stick your
it's
arm
a
out the
thing.
window?
Oh my god, I'd fall off my chair.
Yes,
anyway,
somebody did. I can't remember who said this, but it's
I think I might have that's an unconscious
It's become an
reference to
urban
that.
myth
I think
now of somebody forgetting that they're an Oculus Rift and then just trying to lean on the cab window and just falling off their chair.
Really?
They just spent so long on it. Yeah.
But
it might have been Andy Kelly, but I can't remember who it was.
The thing
so
that I was going to say was it's as somebody who drives and who in real life, it's still really weird to me. I think that's why I was really proud of that moment where I was using the shoulder buttons properly to look around.
Oh, you use a pad?
Because my instinct is to turn my head, and obviously that does nothing unless you've hooked up a bunch of sensors, so don't even start me.
Man.
But it's that thing of all I want to do is just turn my head slightly, then drive forwards. I just want to make sure that I'm being safe.
That's
it's so weirdly
Digger
compulsive.
World in the UK, right? It's it's like a theme park park that lets you like drive and fuck around with construction vehicles?
Like, I think it might be aimed at like younger.
Yeah, I used to be
kids.
obsessed with that kind of stuff.
I've got a stag do coming up, is all I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Dickle.
I mean, it
is for kids.
I think it is.
I used to love
people.
diggers when I was a kid. I used to love
I mean,
them.
you could double check. Maybe they have
I
like
will
a
double
special like after hours stag night kind of.
Oh,
like,
man.
option.
I used to go and look at the diggers in Llandudno until there was one year where there was a scandal where lots of diggers had been reported stolen. It turned out the council had buried them all.
Really?
You have to use other diggers to get the diggers out.
You have to use the mega digger.
like the mega digger. Oh my!
It comes out of retirement.
Llandudno, famously corrupt council. A lovely fact. And it was
Oh, so they buried them and reported them stolen to get in charge.
Yeah, I mean, the amazing thing that my dad's like parents lived there. My dad knows loads of trivia about Llandudno Council. Wonderful thing is, all of the people who worked for the council all had like the council colour paint, which was this deep purple, which was used on all the council buildings.
Oh my god!
All of the houses were this purple. It's like, you've literally stolen council paint to paint your houses. It's like the most obvious crime in the world. I love that. It's incredible. Right? It's just so blatant.
You've reminded me of one of the best truck and digger related stories I know.
One
I know, right? So in Dublin, there was a lot of traffic. This must have been like 8 years ago. I know this because I was living in Ireland at the time. In Dublin, there's like a lot of traffic because trucks come from the Dublin docks and then have to go all the way through the centre of town to leave, right? That's a big problem. So you know what they did? They bought a mega digger. They bought the machines that dig the trains for the Channel Tunnel. And ships over on the dock, and they're like, we're going to make a tunnel from the docks with this machine that runs all the way under Dublin so the trucks can go straight to the dock and from again and not disrupt the traffic at all.
It looks like one of those like really big pointy things that spins round really fast.
A drill.
It's more like a drill.
Yes.
But like one of the mighty
No, it's not
drills.
technically a digger, yeah. I mean, it digs, is what I'm saying.
Because, mate, I went to the Channel Museum.
Oh shit, I would go there.
I don't think it's open anymore.
Stag.
It's not open anymore. That makes the stag even better. Break in. So they get this machine. They get the big spinny drill that digs because it's a digger.
The drilly digger.
Goes all the way under town, and they're there. It's like, we declare this tunnel open, and the truck drives up, and you know what? It didn't fit.
Oh.
Hashtag orcs.
Hashtag digger orcs.
That's the Twitter to talk about if you want to talk about that particular incident on Twitter. Thanks for listening to the Daft Souls podcast.
I'm going to get American Truck Simulator and work out something awesome to do with it on Cool Ghosts.
I mean, like, there is something to do with it. Even but it is just like going on a long car trip, just being trapped in a car with somebody for hours and hours, which is basically what Let's Play series are.
We have not one but 2 games that I'm excited about that involve road trips. One of which is like sort of simmy, and you have this old battered car, and what's it called? It was on RPS recently. But you can fix the engine of this car. Okay.
Maybe it can be like a kind of awful version of Comedians in Car with Coffee.
Or the James Corden car karaoke, which actually is really good.
What's
I really like it. Carpool karaoke with James Corden.
Okay.
So basically, he's gone over to America, and he does this thing as part of his late night show, I think, where he just gets like a celebrity in the car with him, and they're just chatting and driving around and singing some of their songs, but also just some other songs that they're just like playing on the radio and having a good time like singing along to. The Adele one's really good, and she raps along to Nicki Minaj.
Oh wow.
And she's just so lovely, and he's actually like really chilled and like mellowed and is really good as well. And there's a One Direction one that's really good, and the latest one I think was a Chris Martin one, and he's like really funny, and I didn't know that. So
have you guys seen the Comedians in Car with Coffee with Obama?
No, I haven't.
Oh, that's amazing.
The best. It's with Joe Seinfeld and Obama driving around in a car in the grounds of the White House, and
it's very funny.
The best bit is when they approach the Mr. Coffee, which is like a coffee making machine brand in America, and both of them kind of look at the other because both of them suspect the other one can't remember how to use a Mr. Coffee because they're both such a big deal now, which I liked. We could do something. We'll work it out.
Yeah, of course we could do something similar to President Obama and Jerry Seinfeld.
Matt, live the dream.
See, this is the thing. I was wondering what I could do with it, but all I could come up with was streaming it at the moment. But that usually involves me forgetting and singing.
So Matt and my co-worker
It's not a good idea.
on Shut Up and Sit Down, Paul Dean, had an amazing Spelunky series whereby...
Your colleague.
What did I say?
My co-worker.
Oh God, one of my best friends.
We see him every day.
But he had a Spelunky Let's Play series where he would pick a topic and then do the Spelunky Daily Challenge. Yeah, and talk about the topic for as long as it took him to do the daily challenge, which,
He's really good.
because he's really good at Spelunky, sometimes he would have to talk about, his topic, which might be Freddie Mercury, for 45 minutes. But because it's Spelunky, sometimes he'd be like, today I'm going to talk about philosophy, and he'd die in 39 seconds and be like, well, thank you for watching this
I didn't
episode.
know that. That's brilliant.
Yeah, he's
Billy Connolly or
the
something
darkest
as
horse at
well,
Spelunky.
or-
Yeah, he did it for a while. It was
Yeah.
great. I like the idea of that kind of Let's Play that's just very lonely and intimate, and I think that would be perfect for a truck simulator thing.
So to stop it when you
Yeah.
crash the truck.
What if, like, the readers gave me a topic to research?
How often do you crash the truck?
See, I ding it rather than crash it.
Yeah, but I mean, even dinging it, like it ends when you ding it.
Yeah.
Does it?
I know, but I'm saying that would be the format of like you talk about something in a truck until you ding it, and it
Or
might be
like-
that somebody gets so uncomfortable with the conversation that they purposefully crash the truck.
I didn't realise that my truck could go fast enough to get a speeding fine. I got a speeding fine.
Oh my god! And we call it car crash conversations.
Oh my god.
That is...
It's pretty good. Anyway,
No, there was another thing that I was going to say, but now I can't remember, so it doesn't matter.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It was probably just about truck things.
But this does tie into what I was talking about with Shenmue last week. The glory of games that have deeply mundane parts.
Yeah, but at the same time, I find that now, like when I want that kind of mundanity, I just don't go to games for it.
What do you go to for?
I like books.
Books are less mundane than
No, that makes
mundane
it sound
games,
like-
though. There's no truck simulator book.
I just mean it's more like if I'm going to sit and play a game, I kind of want to feel my mind being engaged, and when I want to I think it's more because I spend so much of my life staring at screens.
Yeah.
That I actually, if I want to just do something that's relaxed, I go and cook, or I go and read, and I actually just want to get away from screens.
I'm more on that camp, but the thing that I love about Truck Simulator, Euro or American, is I love driving. I really miss it, and I can't do it in London at all. And so it really chills me out. And one of my favourite things to do when I lived back home, or when I had my own car when I was at uni, was to just maybe offer someone a lift, but then it was the drive back on my own in the dark with the radio on.
lovely
I've
stuff.
heard that from a lot of people.
Yeah, I did that.
Absolutely love it.
Driving
I'll sometimes
back
do
from-
loops, or I'll go through the forest bit rather than the quickest way
Yeah,
home,
I have such
or-
happy memories of driving to, again, Paul's house to play Dungeons and Dragons, and they would meet up at 10, and then I would end up driving home at 4 in the morning, when the motorways between his suburb and London are just empty. You roll into London at 4 in the morning with music you like, you're falling asleep, it's really dangerous. Happy days.
No, I've heard from loads of people that I don't drive, so
It's like what I imagine going for a hike in the wilderness and then being alone on the mountaintop is like. You are so alone.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
so alone. You're
Oh,
more
no,
alone.
I'm so alone most of the time. It's fine. You don't need to explain. No, I do get that, but that's in the way where I tried to play Elite, and I found it was too many buttons, too many things, too much fiddle, too much of it. The game turning around to me and going, "Hey, fuck you, buddy! You don't know what you're doing." And I'm like, I get enough of that in the world. So I thought I still need to go back. I thought I'm going to play Euro Truck Simulator. I don't even have to drive properly. I should be I don't need to be fantasizing about driving a spaceship. I can drive a fucking truck. And that's more than I'm still biting off more than I can fucking chew.
I think my dream game would have to, and this changes every month, but would have to be something like if you have a sort of fighter sim, like a spacecraft fighter simulator, like X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, so freelancer, right? That kind of thing, but one that the developers have really focused on making your vehicle feel like yours, like in that Euro Truck Simulator way, like how Steel
feels
Battalion
really
makes you flip
heavy.
all the buttons. Yeah,
Like the
it feels
truck
heavy. That
actually
if you
feels heavy.
if you ding it, you're like, oh no, because that sense of fostering an attachment between you and a vehicle, because we can do it with characters now. Game designers the world over are extremely good at fostering relationships between characters. Let me have that kind of relationship with an inanimate vehicle, and then my cold heart will be appeased. And I can...
kind of thing is, even though it seems like really bad game design, imagine a game in which you set your ship on autopilot to go somewhere far away, and then you just stand up, walk away from the computer, and then your phone after 10 minutes will go beep 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 beep. That's your ship needs to tell you something. You need to go and sit back at your computer and find out what's going on.
Wasn't there a Kickstarter for a Oculus Rift game or a Vive game, where the setup is you are on the bridge of a ship, and it's a virtual reality game where you control, like a fleet or your giant battleship or whatever, but it's all controlled from you standing within the captain's cabin. So all your crew are around you, and you're standing in front of that big Battlestar Galactica table where you can move things around. So your entire means of interacting with the ship is like hard points and telling people what to do as opposed to giving you direct control. And that excites me.
Just like FTL Live, really.
Very much. Yeah, sure, FTL Live. Do you guys remember the Star Trek game, which was that? Do you remember
I'm just thinking now, and it's FTL Live! You've been eaten by a praying mantis. Thanks for tuning in!
Yeah, no, it was a Star Trek game where you ended up hanging out with deeply wooden crew members, and rather than controlling the Enterprise, you clicked on people and then clicked on the button that said make it so, and your guy would say make it so, and then the guy made it so, and it was bizarre, but I loved those experiments.
I think that's the sort of thing that I think would work well, certainly in the first iteration of VR, simply because of that whole not needing to move around or not needing to be in lots of different environments thing. Like, there's a reason for you to sort of be still in a cockpit, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So, that's a great... Yeah, lock me in a cockpit, but make the cockpit, come to life, which I guess is what Elite is.
I tell you something, like, if I'm still playing it when Christmas rolls around, I can just foresee myself being so spectacularly happy going on some really long truck drive with like wintry kind of weather and like Christmas radio on. Like that is some of my happiest like times in real life. Like one of my happiest memories of recent years was picking up my sister from something like really late at night, driving home with her. We had like Christmas songs on the radio, and we got home and they still hadn't played Wham's Last Christmas. We both really wanted to hear it, so we actually sat in the car waiting for it to come on, just with the radio. Her husband eventually came out and was just like, "Why are you still in the car? What are you doing?" And we're like, "We're waiting for Last Christmas, obviously." And he's like, "We've got Spotify in the house. You have it on at least 2 CDs. What is going on?" And we're like, "We're waiting for Last Christmas on the radio in the car. We will be in soon."
God bless cars and the magic, the weird, horrible, lonely magic.
It's one of the many forms of magic I've missed out on in my life, but it's fine. You've got to choose your own. It's fine. You make your choices.
You got to choose your magic.
Like everyone else went and travelled the world. I just tried to get a career. It's all right. It's fine.
How'd that work out for you?
It's awful.
This is really bad.
No, I'm having a fantastic time. Thanks for listening. Let's do some questions. So Yogi B says 5 to 10 years ago.
But Matt, wait, where are you pulling these questions from?
Oh God, Quins, you're so right. It's wrong. No, it's still right.
No, I think it's still okay.
It's still absolutely okay. What you want to do is you want to go to coolghost.net, the website which hosts Daft Souls. It's a great website. I'd say that, I'm biased. It's literally our website. And then at the top of the website, there's a button that says Daft Souls. You click on that, and then afterwards it'll say, click here for questions or something like that. I can't remember. And anyway, it's a big button. If you miss it, then like, you know what? Like, I don't want to hear your question. It's that big. It's like that big. If you can't see a button that big, then the question's not going to be. Anyway, you click on that, and then it goes to the questions thread, and it says ask questions here. And then...
But Matt, there are 104 questions here.
I know. How does that work?
Right, you're actually throwing over to me. Okay, so what's happening there is it's just a discuss thread, so you can upvote the questions you want to see responded. You can secretly downvote rubbish questions.
Yeah.
You can ask your own question and see how well it does, like releasing a fish into a giant pond.
Absolutely. See if it dies or not. Let's find out. It might get big, it might eat the other questions, or it might die.
Who are the biggest question fish?
The biggest question fish this week we've got is Yogi B. It says, 5 to 10 years ago, turn-based games seemed like they're on the verge of death. Now they're huge. And it's real-time strategy that looks sickly. Why? What genres do you think are going to fall out of favour or have a resurgence next? He said favour. I think the key word here, instead of favour, which explains the answer to his question, is fashion.
I think turn-based is getting more fashionable because game developers are aging. And I'm not actually being silly. It's very similar to how... previously, when we were kids, like in the sort of 90s and early noughties, games were about sort of love interests and saving the princess, and the amount of love interests that have become daughter figures in games is a serious thing that demonstrates the fact that game designers are aging. There are a lot more family stories. There's a lot more child-related stories, and I think turn-based related stuff might be to do with that. We're aging. Our synapses aren't firing. The human body starts slowing down at age 22. And just that's wrong, isn't it? When do esports stars retire?
Like your hearing starts going age 10.
Jeez.
FYI.
but
so shout at kids as loudly as you can while they're still young.
Like esports stars, there tends to be this idea of like, hey, you peak, you then start like your response time starts degrading, and then you retire and you become an analyst
at
or
age
whatever else. Now? But like
20
there's a
maybe?
few people who are sort of arguing for like your game knowledge shifting. and it being less about like the positions that require those twitch reflexes and more about having a really good overview of the game and a really sort of solid understanding of past patches and metas and things like that, which is interesting.
As a sort of expert in this sort of arena with esports stuff, no, I think you are. I mean, you play yourself down, but you know considerably more than I mean,
she does get paid to be an expert on esports.
Yeah, you literally are. Do you think we might end up seeing something akin to like heavyweight systems instead of it being like how much you weigh, being like kind of age groups?
Oh man, 80-year-old StarCraft players.
I'm thinking even more like 30 to 40. There's like people like us, like we're in the bin. Well, not. I see people like I see people like us. I think maybe like we're not even all that age, but that's what I mean. Like where it is kind of.
I think
different tiers.
That could be interesting. I hadn't actually thought about that before.
It seems quite ruthless to just destroy a huge amount of the population because we're not quite fast enough.
But I mean, boxing heavyweights. That would be it's not the equivalent of boxing heavyweights. Pip, back me up.
No, it's not the equivalent.
Wouldn't it be the equivalent of like fat footballers?
Yeah. Why haven't we got that?
Boxer.
Or even just sort of retired footballers. It's because it's following the same trajectory, really, isn't it? Like you basically retire, you go on to do coaching, you go on to do analysis, you go on to do commentating, things like that. Mm-hmm. And yeah, sometimes you do those all-star things or the charity things or the like crisp commercials. You could probably advertise mice until the day you die if you're one of the really famous guys.
Yeah.
But
I'm tired enough that I thought you meant the animal.
I'm wondering what happens when in like maybe a few generations time there are just so many retired esports professionals because it burns through them so quickly.
Wow.
And that's why I wonder if it's like you have like, I mean, this is the sort of thing that seems crazy now, but what if in a few years time we have like actually the ability to like determine sign-up speed in people and like actually then put people into different like I was going to say
the crazy Twitch freaks and then like the slow pokes.
Yeah, literally. Like I mean, I'm thinking now. I said I was going to say different tiers, but then I'm like, oh my god, this is already
I saw
seriously dangerous territory.
I saw a talk by a guy whose job it was to essentially balance real life cars. So the equivalent of balancing guns in an FPS or something, but real life cars, right? They all have to be fair, and so they have engine limiters on them and stuff. And he just described the amount of cheating that goes on, like whereby race car teams will make their car appear worse than it is, so the designers go, your car's bullshit. Here, you can have a wider amount of air that goes into the engine. So I feel like if sign-up speed tests were a thing, you would just have people pretending to be slow and then going up to the weird old slow people and then just eating them.
Munchkins, not
I
Munchkins, Smurfs.
I can't see the system changing too much from where it is now.
We are talking bollocks, and I apologise.
Well, no, it's fine. But the one thing that I was going to say in response to the question was I get so many emails about the latest esport or the latest MOBA or the latest this and that and the other. And so that's a thing that is obviously very much in fashion at the moment, as well as character shooters, like Overwatch and Paladins and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm thinking that those are a current wave that will then,
maybe it'll be that just some of these games will gravitate towards the slowpokes a bit more, people like me.
Or people with just different priorities or different interests in a game, the things that appeal to them.
See, the thing is, people are much more interested in categorising people in terms of exactly how smart and quick they are. Because
that's definitely worked out well in human history.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's just a cool thing you should try to do. Anyway, awful. I'm an awful person.
I'm going to throw 2 final pennies into the well before you bring up the next question. Look at what the kids are playing. Those are the genres that are going to become increasingly popular. Look at the massive open world sort of Terraria and DayZ.
But I find it interesting how we almost nostalgia rewrites history with a different coloured pen each time, of being the fact that now you would think that now we're due a resurgence of lots of 3D adventure-y puzzly things, but what we're getting is Ukulele being kickstarted, and that appears to be about it. The kind of resurgence of Super Mario 64, Mario Banjo-Kazooie appears to have not really been a thing outside of maybe one game, and it's they were well loved by my age group, but maybe not enough to bring it back. Who knows?
Who knows?
I don't know is the answer. Really.
I think I'm kind of hoping that the nostalgia, the really strong nostalgia kick that is fueling Kickstarter a lot as well, I'm hoping that dies off a bit.
I would love that!
It's too much. It's
give more oxygen to new ideas. Come on.
Absolutely. A very important question.
Do you think he made that account just to ask this question?
I'm going to check full profile. Let's see what he's done. Has he done anything else?
Matthew Lee's on the case.
Or she.
My internet's not working, so we're not going to find
out. Matthew Lee's the worst detective.
Sorry, my broadband's on the blink these days.
Find out on episode 2 whether Matt can be bothered to.
Chances are no. A touch of meh.
I
can't have been the first person to ask this. They ask about who is the coolest ghost in video games.
God, that's a good question.
It is.
That was worth making a Discuss account for. A brief. Let's try not to fill the podcast with dead air as we all fall silent.
It's tough. This one. I read it a minute ago and I was thinking it's tough.
Fatal Frame has some ghosts, but they're pretty average.
I tend to be afraid of ghosts in games and therefore don't play the ones that have them in unless it's Super Mario style.
I like the spooky ghost from Undertale, but he's not really cool. He's kind of is, but he doesn't know it.
Man, if we are to hypothesize that a ghost's coolness is based on how scary they are able to be, I would hypothesize that.
I suppose so, but also the funny thing about to repeat this, but the funny thing about Cool Ghosts was we specifically chose the name Cool Ghost because it made us laugh, and then made as many efforts as we could to ensure that the actual ghosts pictured alongside the logo did not look cool.
I don't understand.
And we threw away lots of cool looking ghosts because we wanted them to look a bit weird.
I thought they looked really cool.
They do, but they don't. Oh God, Quinns! I have to explain this every week.
Save us.
This is a question that I've had with my partner. He is so into Pokemon, or used to be, and so therefore has a lot of remnant knowledge from that period of his life. And I was asking about ghost type Pokemon.
Yes.
And what are they the ghosts of?
Oh man.
Are there dead Pokemon that were these species and then there are now ghost ones? Or
Gengar is probably the coolest ghost, I think.
No,
he's pretty cool.
The ghost from PT. Although I want to focus on, that's my real answer, but I think, Pip, you are... I would assume that it's kind of like a translation thing. I don't think they're really ghosts of dead things, right?
Okay.
I think the ghost type is like a sort of spectral, incorporeal
Nah, man,
animal.
They're dead.
Well, anyway, whatever. So, Ghost of PT, best ghost, because from a technical and spooky perspective, I think the ghost from PT. Also,
but that's
spooky
not cool though, because I can't actually go to that side of the menu on my PS4 because I'm too scared of
the
it.
PT button, and you can't delete PT because you can no longer download it. Yeah.
So I just avoid going too far to the right on my PS4 menu. Just can't.
I'm
do
not
it.
playing that.
Can't do it.
I'm not.
But what could be cooler than someone you can't hang out with because you just can't deal with it, right? That's cool.
That's not cool.
No.
Yeah.
Are you saying that some murderer is cool because I'm not hanging out with no murderer?
Well, Murderer Smith saying murderers are cool. This is pretty out there.
All I'm saying is murderers don't give a fuck, and that's pretty cool. So in a way, murderers are cool. Cool ghosts supports murder.
We don't. That's bad. No.
Should we move on?
Palmer 27.
We're going to move on. That's a complicated question. But
if people would like to ask that again in 6-12 months, maybe we'll we'll do a better job.
I just remembered, actually, I should say, over the weekend, I finished XCOM 2. Great game. Anyway,
wow.
No, all I'd say is it's great, right? But the one thing I do know about
is the embargo lifted?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. It's out this evening.
It's out now.
It's out
so
tomorrow
people
night.
have played it over the weekend.
Oh, it's out this evening.
It's literally out this evening. As
when
we
we're
record
recording,
this.
not on...
So Thursday night.
Yeah. So it's good, but it does that same thing, and I don't know how you get around, but it does that same thing of XCOM, of having that kind of you're on a knife edge for a long time, and then am I on the edge, and then getting to a point where you're you've geared up enough, you've got a cool team, you've got cool gear, and you can just...
Didn't you say you reloaded a save every single time anyone died?
Yeah, but lots of people will play it like that. That's not unnormal. That's not the way I usually play the game, but that is the way that lots of people will play.
But I mean, I think it's fair to say that a problem with the XCOM structure is that you cannot support a game that has both Iron Man and people who reload every time anything goes wrong.
Of course you can't. But it does still have that same thing of it's almost a bit of a shame because it's for a point towards the end, the magic kind of fades away when you realise actually now you can probably take as long as you want. In a way,
Bummer.
But
so what are you saying? People should go straight into Iron Man?
No, not at all. I think it's just more that when you get to the point where you start to get a feel that you're running out of tech to research. Kind of after the third grade of weapons or whatever, and it starts to give you the sense with the flavor text that this is the most it even has people saying, this is the most advanced thing that we've ever seen. Like, you're like, yeah. That's when you should start really starting to gravitate towards the end, because it still ended at a point, it wasn't like a cakewalk, and the last mission was fun, and it has an Easter egg at the end of it that had me like rolling around being like, oh, you bastards, you clever, wonderful bastards. So it's worth sticking with. And it's still an amazing game, though. It's still an amazing game.
I have a question. What's a cakewalk?
Cakewalk, I think.
Is there literally a walk that involves cake?
I assume it's just the idea of walking through cake. I mean, how dangerous or difficult can that be?
Pip, can you Google etymology cakewalk?
Yeah.
Is this a thing?
All right.
No, I just want to know. Palmer 27 might have to wait till next week.
Yeah, I think it's a big question for a big time.
I didn't read it. What was it about?
It was about games that would run on
Mac.
on very simple computers.
Oh, Pip, read this out.
So the cakewalk, or cakewalk, by the way, the difference was a hyphen, was a dance developed from the prize walks held in the late 19th century, generally at get-togethers on slave plantations in the southern United States.
Oh, no! What?
Alternative names for the original form of the dance were chalkline walk and the walk around. At the conclusion of a performance of the original form of the dance...
This page is huge.
Yeah. An enormous cake was awarded to the winning couple.
Whoa!
Okay.
Thereafter performed in minstrel shows. That is a phrase that has more of a problematic background than I would have thought.
Yeah.
But really interesting. I didn't realise why it was... I wonder why it's supposed to be like an easy thing, I guess.
I guess because you just dance and then you might win a big cake.
In actual reality, the cakewalk is not just a racist dance, it's also a carnival game, which you win a prize by walking around in a circle. That makes a lot more sense. And also it's where the phrase, take the cake, or piece of cake, comes from. Ah, cake. Let's go and eat some cake.
Thank you very much for listening to the podcast. You can go to coolghost.net, where we have loads of the podcasts. You can listen to all of them. You can subscribe on iTunes.
And ask questions now, apparently, it turns out.
We've told you how to do that. It's actually a system that does work, despite detractors.
Pip, how would I find more Pip on the internet?
Oh, you could probably go to my Twitter. That's easiest. It's at @PhilippaWar, which is, hang on, PhilippaWarr.
I have never seen someone focus so hard.
2 P's, 1 L. That's the important thing to remember.
Nice.
You should definitely check out Pip's stuff. She's amazing. And that's about it, really.
Yeah, head to coolghosts.net. You can see my cool video on Disgaea that I published this week.
Yeah.
The maddest game I've written about this year.
It's a crazy game. I really want to go and play it again, even though my heart and soul know better than
I was
to go back
recording
to Disgaea.
footage from it and got addicted again just from going back and recording footage.
It's crack, but it's good. It's good. Anyway, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Hot beans. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.